I recently picked up this British Mk.IV from Tamiya. It comes with a motor and all the components to make it run. However, it's just an on-off switch that turns the track forward and then off again. This got me thinking. My son loves robots, and he has multiple kits where he can make RC robots that he can control himself. So if this cheap kit from Amazon can do it, why can't my tank? Unfortunately, he wouldn't let me use his. So, I just had to get my own. I gave him the extra pieces so he can build to his heart's desire, but I kept the remote and the transponder. The transponder itself is connected to a battery pack. Simply install the batteries, plug in the supplied motors, and give it a test. Now, I already knew that these bulky motors weren't going to do it, so I picked up this twin motor gearbox, also from Tamiya. And this is actually a really cool kit. There's 2 separate gear ratios that you can choose from, and 3 different points where you can mount the axle. I probably can't use any of that, but I won't know until I try. The first thing I need to try, however, is attaching the motors to the transponder itself. I did some quick calculations and decided I probably wasn't going to burn out the motors by attaching them to the battery pack in this way. But first things first, you got to test it, preferably before you install it in a tank model and then realize it doesn't work. But in this case, it does. So with that sorted, I just wanted to let you know that Tamiya does make this kit in an RC version. So you're basically getting the exact same kit, but with 2 motors that come with this kit and a transponder built in. However, that kit usually retails for over $300 US, and I've never really been able to find it in stock anywhere. So I've wanted to make my own and spend a lot less money. But the fact that it's already engineered to be able to move on its own in an RC version is kind of critical in making this build work from a DIY standpoint. This kit comes with track that is movable and pretty durable. It also comes with the necessary gears that turn the track from the gearbox that we're installing. So the only thing I needed to sort out was how to make this gearbox work and have a gearbox with dual motors so that I could make each side of the track spin independently. Now, I did have to make a lot of modifications to this, and you can see there's an A, B, and C port where you can put the axle shaft, and none of those would fit without modifying it like this. However, all the gears are out of the way when you build it in this position. I'm using the A port, and you'll be able to see once all the gears are put in, this doesn't hit at all. It's only on the sides where there's any contact. There is some areas where you're going to need to trim the kit here and mounting on the bottom. Also, you're not going to be able to use the on-off switch. We'll relocate that later. And one of the brackets can be used, but the other bracket that secures the interior of the kit cannot be used. This just went together pretty standard for now, though we'll get to the modifications of this unit after. So that's built with everything, but you can see the size, and that's the axle we actually need. So that does need to be cut in half. And when you do that, you'll realize that the gears that slides on are too big, and you can't use the larger axle because that will not fit the gear that comes with the kit. There's also a lot of play when you use the smaller axle, so we're going to need to make another hub out of a piece of styrene to keep that from slopping around. Now we have to tackle the fact that this shaft does not come in contact with the interior of that gear. So I sanded it, and then I applied some UV resin to build up some bulk. With the UV resin, it kind of hardens into a blob, so you're going to need to sand it back down to the proper size, and you're going to need to check little by little as you go. If you do make a mistake, you can always sand it all the way down and start again. But with that should hold quite nicely. That gets inserted back in with one half of the axle, and you can see the piece of styrene there holds it in place, and everything spins just as it should. Make sure you grease everything up before you install it. Especially when it's open like this, it's a lot easier to get to all your gears, and that grease is supplied with both kits, so you should have plenty. After that, just put the motor back together with two of the screws, one of the screws that you will not be able to use. Then you insert the motors with the appropriate gears right in. All the gear ratios stay exactly the same. You build it as if you were working off the diagram for figure A. I soldered the wire to the motor. I did get this backwards, so you might want to test this before you solder it. Make sure you have the directions right. It's not a big deal because it's pretty easy to sort out, but my left and right is my forward. Aside from that, everything worked great. Test again. And then it was time to mount it into the vehicle. I had to use a lot of super glue and some new brackets, and make sure that you get that right because there's no going back after that. Then I assembled the wheels just like they say to in the kit. This is all gears that come with the kit itself, and all of those wheels have to go into place. And again, once that's locked in, there's really no going back. Here's some of the components that do come with the kit that are pretty essential for this. You do get some metal gears that you have to build yourself, but they should be pretty indestructible. And for all the wear and tear we're going to put on it, that's definitely an element that you are going to need. It also comes with some adjustments, which you'll see in a little bit, that make that much easier. Comes with plenty of this durable track. It's actually a joy to put together, no sanding required. And you can see once it is loosened there, some of the details that you're never going to see because they are again inside, but the sponsons do come off. I believe that's what they're called. And you could technically paint those and make those look cool from the inside and take them off if you wanted to see the detail of these cool cannons. The top is also removable to get to the batteries, but it would take a little bit of reverse engineering to get to those since these brackets do get glued on, but with a little bit of hidden cuts, I think you should have no problem getting the batteries in and out. For now, for painting, I'm going to put these in with some sticky tack, and I probably will keep that forever since that's an easy way to get to the track tensioners. Now, just for some last minute details, replacing this piece of string with some wire for the cable. And then it's time for the part we've all been waiting for, driving a tank around my backyard. Tons of fun. Check it out. Thank you so much for watching. This has been so much fun to do. I've wanted to do this build for a while, and I hope you come back and see how we paint it, and you know we're gonna have to drive it again after that.